Hello everyone. Welcome back for another school year, the 2016-17 school year. Happy to bring you another episode of the happenings in Dearborn Schools. We are on location today at Fortson High School, and no, this is not a trick with the green screen in behind. Last time I know we were in the Fortson Library, but we were physically at Dearborn High Studio. We are very excited. Although I'm missing my partner here, David Musson, and he is in the studio audience today and helping us guide it along the way. And he did give me clearance that we had enough ratings to come back for a second year. So this will actually be the second year of the happenings in Dearborn Schools and the second episode. So we're here to talk about co-teaching, and I'm going to let some of my guests introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the topic.
My name is Glenda Darin. I'm the resource teacher at Duval Elementary.
I'm Mike Esseily. I'm the special education coordinator for Dearborn Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Kelly Herrick, and I'm the co-teaching coach here at Fortson.
Hi, I'm Nicole West. I was a co-teacher in the middle school, and I am now doing my special ed administration internship.
So we're here to give you some information on our special education co-teaching model in the district, and just to talk about where we're at. And we are going to get into some specific strategies. We want to make sure that we're communicating with our parents or students, and some of this might be useful for staff. I can tell you that last year when I became superintendent, one of the things that was in my goals was to help further implement the co-teaching model, which we've been doing in the district for many years. In fact, I have a history. I know, Glenda, you and I have a history going back to when we taught at Salina and then Duval with the co-teaching model. And so, when we saw what was going on in the district, we knew there was great things that it helped our students, but we wanted to enhance it and make sure we're implementing it across the district on a consistent manner. So last year we created a steering committee, which you are all now part of. Thank you for joining the steering committee. I'm currently chairing that committee, but eventually I believe I'll be handing that over to either Mr. Esseily in the special ed or Ms. Michelle DeJager, depending on which direction we decide to go in. So what we did and what we're doing today is in May, we had a presentation before all the administrators in the district. You were all a part of that. We made it very interactive at the time. Today, because we're taping it, it's going to be less interactive, so we're going to try to talk a little bit about the things that we were trying to implement in the district. And then we're actually going to try to get some footage of some of the models in the school and put it together for this episode. So that kind of just gives the overview. What I'm going to do is, just so the audience knows, I do have some sheets in front of me. I'm going over a PowerPoint that we use. I'm not reading it, but I am going to use it as a conversational piece as we go through to the different members who are here today. So, really it's about the cultural shift in the school district with co-teaching, and why are we doing it students first, making a difference, to educate students and make sure that we're doing what meets the needs of all students, our special education students, general ed, all students. But this model is specific to our special education students. And what does co-teaching mean? Basically, we have two teachers that are in the classroom. One is special education endorsed and certified by the state, and the other is a content expert, or in the case of elementary, maybe an elementary school certified teacher. And so they're working together to provide services, again, for all students, and specifically what we call, creating some technical words, specially designed instruction for special education students, which is just how we meet their needs. So we have several different models that we implement with co-teaching, but one of the biggest things is just part of it is inclusion. Now, inclusion and co-teaching support each other, but you can have an inclusionary special ed model, meaning you're having most of your students in the class without actually doing co-teaching. So I just want to make the distinction there that this model actually means that we have our special education students in the general education environment, but they're actually working with two teachers that, again, are providing that instruction. Involves a lot of collaboration, obviously, as you plan. So we have to have the teachers collaborating, and of course with administrators as we go as well. We've also looked at some experts in the field. I know Dr. Marilyn Friend is one, and the district has hired a consultant, Ms. Ann Benninghoff. So we're also looking at national published experts as we implement the model. What are some of the benefits? We have social inclusion, just that curricular expertise, and that special education, the ability to modify instruction for our students. We have expertise as teachers collaborate. they become better at differentiating because they're working together. So what does differentiating mean? It means really meeting the needs of all the students in the class. So maybe changing the way we do instruction. So rather just sitting and listening, we might be actively moving around the room, or students might be using their hands for things, or they may be physically moving as they create projects. What is it that we're looking to do? We're really looking to have high standards for all students, and I know for our special education students as well. So here are some of the models we're going to get to that are research-based. I'm going to let each of you kind of introduce each of the models and talk to our audience. So first we have Nicole, and she's going to talk about one of the models that we call One Teach, One Observe. And so when the different models, it basically refers to the two teachers in the classroom and what they're doing with students. So I'm going to hand it over to Nicole if she can explain the One Teach, One Observe model.
In the One Teach, One Observe model, you have one teacher that is teaching the lesson to the students, and the other teacher is walking around the room observing. So they're collecting data, they're observing students for different things. It is probably one of the models that we want to use the least often because we don't have two teachers that are actively engaged in the teaching process at that time.
Next, we're going to have Mr. Mike Esseily. He's going to talk about the One Teach, One Assist model. And I know when we presented before the administrators, we had a little fun with that, didn't we?
It was a good time. We actually got to model what the One Teach, One Assist model really is. And similar to what the One Teach, One Observe model is that Nicole just spoke about. The One Teach, One Assist, you're going to have primarily one teacher delivering a majority of the instruction, while the other teacher assists other students who are in the classroom by monitoring them, walking around, possibly helping them understand certain concepts. Again, this is one of the models that we don't want to frequently use in a co-taught model because both teachers aren't equally engaged in delivering the instruction.
Thank you. So next, the model that we want to talk about is the station teaching, and we actually modeled this with the administrators, and we have Ms. Glenda Darin who's going to talk about the station teaching model.
In station teaching, both teachers have an active role in presenting instruction. It benefits our special needs students because they can be more easily placed in a group so instruction can be directed specifically to meet their needs. It can be a little noisy at times, but it allows for all students to have their needs met.
Thank you, Glenda. And I know with that model too, when we've had Ms. Ann Benninghaff, the consultant, come in, one of the things we're really going to work on this year is what that word I said, the specially designed instruction. What is that again? It's how we, are making those accommodations for students to ensure that they, are achieving at a high level and they're getting the instruction they need. So that's something I know that we're going to work on within the station teaching. So next we have parallel teaching with Ms. Kelly Herrick.
Parallel teaching can be used a number of different ways. Typically, one of the most common ways is to divide the class in half and have two teachers both presenting the lesson. That way, the ratio of teacher to student is smaller, and you can get more one-on-one time with the individual students or in the small group. You can also have it where each teacher is doing something a little bit different, and then the students switch halfway through the class. Therefore, they're getting two different components to the lesson. And there are ways of obviously tweaking these models as well, where you might have three different parallel kind of situations going on, two with a teacher and one with an individuals working independently. So there are a lot of ways to utilize these models to best meet the needs of the students.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. And I know when we had, again, I'm going to refer to Ms. Benninghoff because we're going to see her this year. One of the things that she showed during the training, which we were all a part of, was a video of some of the parallel teaching. And it was interesting that from her perspective and her experience across the country is that a lot of times the students are fine with that model, but sometimes it's the adults that have difficulty with the model. So I can say that our last general administrators, Mike, you were there in August, we actually did some parallel teaching, didn't we, in the main room. And it is just something I think we're going to try to really focus on this year and maybe become more comfortable with. So appreciate that. So now we also have alternative teaching, and Ms. Nicole West will describe that.
Alternative teaching is when you have one teacher leading the instruction in the class and the other teacher pulling a small group to the side. It's great for doing pre-teaching, reviewing, enrichment activities. But you have to also be careful because you don't want that stigmatism of pulling the same students every single time to the small group. So you do want to mix those students up and make it heterogeneous.
Appreciate that, Nicole. And I also, just going back to our training and things we've done, I know one of the things as well that was discussed is you also, depending on the teacher, you want the teachers to switch up at times, which one goes with the small group or the large group.
Right.
And it's something as well that we're going to work on. So I appreciate you mentioning that. And now we have teaming with Ms. Herrick again.
So teaming is when both teachers typically are presenting the lesson, usually in front of the class together. This is a great approach for co-teachers who have been working together for a while. They're comfortable with each other and they're both comfortable and confident in the curriculum and the material that they're presenting. It works very well.
Thank you. So we've talked about some of the strategies, 6 that we specifically pointed out. And one of the things that's also recommended, and I'm just going to throw a percentage based on some of the research. One of the things that the researchers recommend, and we are following it, them in the field, is one teach, one observe, and one teach, one assist. Actually, one teach, one observe. They're saying 5 to 10%, which you said seldom, I believe. One teach, one assist. They say less than 20%. Again, you were saying seldom. Station and parallel teaching, they're saying that should really be between 30 to 40% because you get more interaction with the students. And then the percentages I'm getting for alternative teaching and teaming is 20 to 30%. So again, that's not an exact figure, but it gives kind of a generic method to say, well, where should you be investing more of your time? So obviously station and parallel is more frequent. Teaming and alternative, it sounds like occasional. And then really it should be seldom with the one teach, one assist, and one teach, one observe, if you would concur with that. So, I know that during the presentation, we also talked about some things that we wanted to do, and I'll let anyone chime in if needed, just from administration, and I can speak to it. I was a principal that advocating for co-teaching, and some of the things that we need to do, on an administrative level that the principals will work is just working with the teachers for some planning time. I think that's one thing that they're working on. So we want the parents to know, too, that it's a teamwork with the administration, because if the teachers are going to be successful, it has to be administration and everyone working together, and we need the support of the parents as well. Just consistency with teams. Sometimes it makes it difficult with budgetary. I mean, that's the reality. As superintendent, I have to face that, principals do. Just considerations with the scheduling, I think, when they block it at the beginning of the year, and then just making sure that there's time for professional development, I think. And that's what we're doing really on a district level, and all of you are helping there. So I really appreciate, as we're working, on a district level to provide that professional development, which it was a big investment when we had, Mike, I don't know exactly how many people that we have in those 2 days training. It was a big group over there at Stout at the team room.
We had over 200 staff members see 4 half days of training by Ann Benninghoff, who is kind of an expert and a guru in co-teaching, as Dr. Maleyko mentioned earlier.
So with planning and implementation, I know one of the things is just the collaboration is so critical. And again, the accommodation expert is a special education teacher, and then we also have the content expert. And I know those are things that need to be factored in, along with the scheduling, which, and you feel free to chime in, but I know the model looks different at elementary, Glenda, versus what it would look at, like at a secondary level. And part of that, maybe the strategies might be similar, but how you go about implementing is because the scheduling is much different.
And especially making sure that at each grade level, depending on numbers, but making sure that those students with IEPs are grouped together so that the resource teacher can meet the needs at many grade levels.
Well, thank you. That's a great lead into the next top point I wanted to make, which is, research by Dr. Marilyn Flynn and Dr. Villa actually talks about, well, what should the percentage maximum be of special ed student ratio to general ed? And at the high school, the recommendation is between 20 to 35%. Now, I believe we try to stay in that 20 to 30%. We don't really like to go on the high end. Middle school, they're talking about 20 to 30%. And then elementary recommendation is like a 15 to 25%. But I agree with what you said. That means, though, we have to kind of cluster our students, and what we say is get them in the same class, but not too high. That way, the teachers can be in there for a longer period of time during the week and provide that support for the students. So, Glenda, do you want to talk a little bit about what it looks like at the elementary level, and then, we can open it up for some additional conversation, and maybe even at the secondary level if you want to talk.
Well, I'm excited to say we're going to pilot co-teaching at the elementary level this year. I was trained at the secondary level and did co-teach at the secondary level, but I know it's going to look differently at the lower level. Right now, I think the resource teacher can provide certainly whole class instruction. I find it that we can also, during the daily 5 instruction time, when there's breakouts, she or he can work with small groups or even individuals. I'm not restricted to just working with kids that have IEPs. I can work with anyone in the classroom.
So I know, Glenda, you were also going to comment on that the workshop model is also an area where, with math workshop would be a good time to get in there, or other content area workshop, but math is something that we're working on. And I know that, so you're in there, even though you're there to mainly provide support for special education, all the students are actually benefiting in that class.
Hopefully.
From the two. Well, we know. I've seen you when you're with the students and when you're in the class, and I've seen a lot of you, and I know that they're benefiting. So I don't know if anyone here has any, Mike, what do you think? You're kind of been taking the lead, with the training. What are next steps that we may be going towards, with the committee, and what is going to be the long-term plan as we move forward with this? I know we want to implement the model, but what are some of the things that we can expect to see this year? And I'll let some of you comment if you'd like to as well.
Sure. Well, we are happy to say that Ann Benninghoff is going to return to the district in October for a couple days, and we're going to lead into some professional development from that standpoint. The Co-Teaching Steering Committee is actually going to meet once a month, and we actually have a meeting this Monday where we're going to plan out what some of the PD looks like for all of our co-teachers within the district. I know what we are asking right now buildings to do is we're asking them to configure 1 or 2 lead co-teaching teams from each building, and to kind of have a train-the-trainer type model within the building just to build that capacity. I know Ms. West is also going to take the lead at developing a subcommittee of just looking at different things that we can do as a department and as a district to help support the co-teaching model as well. And I know one of those things is possibly creating a co-teaching handbook. Although we already have one created, we'd like to look at it and modify it to kind of meet our current needs. We're also going to develop some sort of rollout plan to fully implement co-teaching, hopefully at the elementary level for the 2017-18 school year as well. So there's a lot of great things happening. We're extremely excited as a district. We have great support, and co-teaching really does meet the needs of all of our students, and not just our students with IEPs, but all of our students overall in general as well.
So I'll have a couple more questions, one for Ms. Herrick and Ms. West. So at the secondary level, where do you feel that we're at as far as co-teaching goes with secondary? We talked a little bit about elementary. I think we're a little further ahead than the elementary.
Well, yes, and I think that we have now kind of developed a system where we do pre-schedule, pre-plan, get the partnerships ready ahead of time as far as the teachers go, schedule the students ahead of time so that we can make the best use of the staff that we have. And if there's any way that we can assist the elementary, based on the fact that we've been doing this for a little while, and if we can help them in any way, we'd be happy to.
Thank you. And Ms. West, what about, as Mr. Esseily talked about, we had Ms. Darin and Ms. Herrick talking about, these things we're doing, but as people are used to a different way of going about instruction without the co-teaching, is there going to be any struggles, do you think, or what are the things that you think, is there anything that you think we're going to be doing as we transition that way with staff, and just providing support, and for parents for that matter, things that you think might be difficult or anything that you may come to mind?
I think since we've been doing it at the secondary level for a while, we're building up that consistency within the teachers and within the staff. So I think that it's going to roll out pretty good. I hear a lot of positive feedback from staff members. I've heard positive feedback from students saying that they like to have both teachers available. So I really see this as a positive. There's always going to be struggles that come up, and I think we'll deal with them one at a time. But for the most part, this is going to be a positive thing for our district.
Well, I appreciate all of you being here today. We're on location again at Fortson, and this is our second episode of the year for Happenings in Dearborn School District. I will promise you that we will bring Mr. Mustonen back next time. So those of you that are worried that he's not on today, he will be back. He didn't get cut off, or he didn't die off on the show, or we didn't, cancel his contract or anything like that. We're good. But having said that, we're very excited about the co-teaching model. It will be part of the district strategic plan that the Board of Education is going to be adopting this year. And, more to come with that. And it's a major initiative. Why? Because we know it helps our students. So again, I appreciate everyone being here. And until next time, look forward to seeing everyone at the next episode on Happenings in Dearborn Schools.